let's wrap up today. And maybe Spiros can already start with the partnerships. Even though the board is in French, you worked in English, right?
Yes, we do. That's an interesting mix of how we do the two languages. So thank you very much. This is a group that has been discussing the partnerships in the context of circular economy. We have started looking into the countries that are represented or experiences brought from here. So we have Morocco, France, Spain, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Quebec, we have Canada, we have the United Kingdom, we have Morocco, we have, I said, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Spain, and Greece for myself. This wonderful group of people came up with a lot of ideas. Lubna, that deserves a hand here by everyone, has been doing the write-up. And we have identified specific things for the barriers or the obstacles that get in the way of bringing partnerships in the context of circular economy. Then we try to identify some of the existing solutions, things that we know that work in the context of circular economy, and then some of the ideas or proposals for future development. So if I very quickly go through that, for example, some of the things that we brought up as barriers or obstacles for circular economy partnerships is the lack of information on opportunities and solutions. So what are the solutions that could be used by business in order to develop the circular economy? Another one is the missing link between the industry and the solution makers, so industry and research or innovation and so on. Another one is the lack of communication between the companies themselves, so that where they could join forces or work together to provide solutions. Lack of information or understanding of the regulations and the legislative or regulatory framework. Do I need to go into all this detail or give
Please
you some?
no, because actually
Okay, so
2 minutes per group.
Okay, so I have the camera. I have to get as much time as I can. I'm a former politician.
We will cut that part.
The existing solutions, again, we mentioned as example the public platforms that bring together the market of sub-products or byproducts. That's one example. And again, in the case of future solutions, for example, we mentioned the big data internet platforms that can provide the solution for sharing information. There's more. The write-up will be done there. And please give an applause to all of this team that was doing a great work. Thank you.
So Gianluca, what did you discuss?
Yeah, it was a very interesting discussion. We had a very diverse group of people, and the discussion was very lively. And that's what we came up to. Basically, some of the barriers for establishing circular economies in the field of financing mechanisms is a lack of regulations or adverse regulations, which means that markets are distorted, there are taxation that needs to be established, that are not established, or vice versa, a system of incentives that it's not present or, again, distorts the market. And then another issue was the knowledge gap, which means that, for example, financial institutions do not have enough information to make a decision on whether to invest in some projects. Another thing is that the problem of liabilities. In fact, some financial institutions require too much liabilities from firms, startups, so they're not able to actually get financing, which ties into the lack of access to finance, because many green entrepreneurship projects are not finding financing. And also another last-minute addition was the lack of transparency. In fact, this is a huge barrier, because there is the system is too opaque in order to provide enough financing and trust.
What about future solutions?
Yeah, future solutions. This was the place where many people had very interesting ideas. For example, proper pricing, because again, this ties into the barriers. In fact, for example, water, petrol, energy is heavily subsidized. So like correct pricing should help in establishing renewable and green circular economy projects. Set of incentives, because any kind of like a nascent industry needs some kind of governmental incentives to get established. In fact, in the future, there should be like a roadmap, like a step-by-step guide, maybe made by the government, for example, to establish like funds or how to establish funds for both private and public, for green financing. There should be a platform to exchange resources. There should be some rules, specific rules for public procurements. Improve also the regulation, because again, this ties also into the barriers. There's the legal system is there are some issues, and also there should be like a lack of integration is something that should be worked on in the future, because some projects are not correctly integrated between financing. There could be like a mix of private, public, venture capital, banks, and also the support is there is a lack of support, and this should be an area to work with.
It sounds like a good link to the regulatory incentives, and Roland is working in the policy component of SwitchMed, so the best person to do it.
Also, our group was quite active. And first, when we looked to the different barriers, we saw, yes, there is absence of legal binding goals and measures. The government doesn't encourage effective consumption, sustainable consumption, lack of markets for raw materials, lack of sustainable procurement strategies, lack of awareness of people of waste separation, but also on the lack here for those which are handling the waste. Costing of waste is not appropriate, lack of dialogue between the different stakeholder groups, including policymakers and civil society, lack of good governance overall. And so the first existing solution, what we said is, okay, removing all these lacks. So including starting with legally binding targets came from the EU, where they already have some example of these legally binding targets. Then also tax reduction or incentives for sustainable products and green products or eco technologies. Provide compilation of best practice. There is at the moment for waste management just from JRC a kind of a best practice compilation for waste management that's now just in the loop since about 3 weeks. But also it was highlighted that we should have a compilation for best practice for citizen behavior. Extended producer responsibility was highlighted in the EU. We have it for V, but this would need to be extended for other goods. Financial incentive, including correct pricing for the waste, including, for example, for the gate fees for landfills. Regulatory impact assessment, and another existing solution was public procurement, of green and sustainable goods. And for the future solution, maybe even this public procurement could be made mandatory, or at least coming to a special share of it. Introduce instruments to support the purchase of product produced from recycled goods. This could be a part of the green public procurement, but especially for goods which are made from secondary materials. Then consider the real full cost accounting, including ecosystem services. Full integrated policy making, and not only a full implementation of the polluter pays principle approach, but also to have a carrot approach. This means a carrot approach for policymaker to move in the right direction, and a carrot approach also for the consumers, including, for example, a reduction of the VAT for products which are produced from secondary materials or which are really sustainable, have longevity, and so on. A landfill ban at the end came from the EU, would be a very good pressure to the whole to push a circular economy. And many of these future solutions are actually already in action plans. Yeah? But what we don't have is a real enforcement, a monitoring for the enforcement of these action plans, and a transparency. Yeah, so.
We are moving to consumer acceptance, and Alfred is going to share with us.
Thank you, Burcu. Well, it was a pity that we didn't have more time to discuss because the discussion was still very live and very exciting. But anyway, we picked up some of the barriers and existing and future solutions that we were asked about this exercise. So concerning barriers, we are speaking about consumer acceptance. That means that in some cases we will be having cross-linked solutions with other groups, because in some cases the regulatory framework has an impact on consumers' acceptance, and also economic issues have an impact. So we will repeat some of the issues that have already been said. But concerning barriers for the consumer acceptance, we have been talking about information to consumer that is in some cases confusing. There's a lack of useful information on the products, labels, etc. Too many eco-labels, the existence of too many eco-labels that confuse people when going to the supermarket. Also, having in mind that in some cases the information confuses in the sense that it is greenwashing in some cases. So it is not fully transparent and fully explaining what is behind this information. Also, on the side of the barriers, the price, in some cases it is expected to be more expensive. That is a clear barrier to the full acceptance of from the side of the consumer. Also, in this case, are we willing to pay more for these kind of products? Sometimes it is even not true that they have to be more expensive. So we have to have the pricing aspect in mind. Also, we talked about the culture issue. And the perception of the culture issue and this being acting as a barrier also. We are not used to repairing our goods. We are not used to give products a longer life than expected. We are used to buy and then generate waste and buy again. So we have to break this tendency, this trend, this habit. And
what about the solutions? And maybe
we have to be okay. Yeah. So some of the existing solutions could be to use already existing champions to explain about their experiences, to share their messages. We had some examples in the case Body Shop, Acciona, and also to increase public awareness. Also to enforce existing regulation more effectively, because there are already a lot of regulations. The only problem is that it is not well implemented, that we should enforce this implementation in some countries. Also some solutions, for example, strong support, policy, incentives, narratives, also private sector, simple messages to consumers, and collaboration between the producers and the consumers. Consumer education, financial incentive, for example, low interest loans for companies that are producing good products. So to introduce this kind of economic instruments to benefit this kind of products, or the opposite one, to put additional difficulties and taxes to bad products. And concerning future solutions, in some cases we have spoken about incorporating this issue into children education and into curricula. Also to link sustainability more to health, because consumers are more aware of the importance of healthy products, so connecting environmental and health messages. Also, we were speaking about strong brands, having strong brands that the brand by itself can sell the message. To name and fame the good producers, also we have spoken a little bit on this. Also about the global tax trade return agreements, and then encourage positive actors through incentives, and or create barriers for negative producers. And also speaking about tax reductions, about sustainable companies benefiting from these tax reductions, for example. So this was a little bit all we have discussed about.
So it sounds like, thank you very much, Alfred. So final table, and I would like to ask Nicola really to stick to the 2 minutes.
Well, starting with the barriers, we detect some lack of supply chain, circular supply chain, that in some ways is creating some problem when a new business or a current business want to circularize their business model. So we see this lack of critical mass in upstream. We see a lack of demand or critical mass downstream also, because here we detect some Matryoshka effect, where many issues are creating a no responsible consumption society, because it could be a lack of variety in products. So you go to the supermarket and you would like to buy a different option, but you cannot find it. A marketing, so a circular product or at least green product are poor marketed, and the lack of awareness. Then there is a lack of knowledge about the customer. I think is a very, very important point, because we are always basing our supposition about the consumption just based on tests or surveys. People are lying normally. And then lack of cross-sectional collaboration. So the different industries are not talking each other, and because there is no business culture about this, and I think it's a very important barrier. Then there is a program of obsolescence of products. This is a Pandora box. So it's a very huge, complex issue. Then a lack of circular business design training and incubation. I mean, there are green entrepreneurs and green accelerating in incubation programs, but circular is like a step beyond. No? So about the existing solution, we have been talking about the marketing and social marketing. We think it should be performed in a different way, in a new way. Crowdfunding and crowd investment, they are very interesting because they are providing some help to business to get from the crowd the finance that they need. Second-hand market also, they need to be, they are already existing, but maybe we need to renew them. Keep lobbying in the European Union. Innovation business model and innovative training programs, that they are out there, so maybe we have to import from other places and try to bring to our context. And anthropology, about the customer lack of knowledge, no? That we have towards the customers. And then the future solution, very quickly, create a closed markets instead of just throwing send our products to the market, create a community before. So maybe just start with a critical mass already gathered. Performance-based solutions. So start promoting a different approach about products and services to promote a performance-based economy. Strong cross-sectional cooperating networking. This is another level of hybridation between different industries. Virtuous legal and financial framework that I think they have been telling us before. Spending manufacturer liability, and circular design training and dissemination that I think they are on the way, and the MacArthur Foundation is one of the most important example, and maybe we need to disseminate much more.
Great, thank you very much. It has been a long session, and I thank you very much for participating.